First of all, it is important to remember that the Bills of Exchange Act 1882 and many statutes subsequently consider a promissory note to be the same thing as cash. This is reasonable because a promissory note is only a formal IOU. A judgment by the late Lord Denning can be quoted based on this. It says a bill of exchange, once tendered, has to be treated as cash. The principle is that a bill, check or note is given and taken in payment as so much cash, and not as merely given a right of action for the creditor to litigate a counterclaim. See Jackson v. Murphy, 1887, 4 tons LR 92. We have repeatedly said in this court that a bill of exchange or a promissory note is to be treated as cash. It is to be honored unless there is some good reason to the contrary. See Pair Lord Denning Mr. and Fielding and Platt Limited v. Salim Najjar 1969, 1 WLR 357 at 361, 1969, 2 All ER. 150 at 152, Ca. So, if the promissory note is tendered, and it is rejected, then there was no debt in the first place. If the promissory note is accepted, then the debt no longer exists because it's been paid in full. This is particularly relevant in the case of attachments to earnings orders, whereby a clown calling himself a judge will rubber stamp such an order, usually via the Northampton Bulk Clearing Center. And a craven set of cowardly employers will start to make salary or wage deductions. The rubber stamped order was, of course, unlawful and void. But no one will listen to any protestations in that respect. However, a promissory note can put the boot on the other foot. Click here for the template. You would need to get it notarized. Click here to see how that is done. And here's what you can do with it. You create one and send it to whoever has got the rubber stamped order against you. They will reject it, of course. When they do, you can write to them pointing out Lord Denning's judgment. They may not write back, or they may do. It really doesn't matter, or matter what they say. Because you can eventually take the situation to the point whereby you can claim that A. Either the promissory note paid in full, or B. There was no debt in the first place. Either way, A. Continued deductions are a continued series of criminal acts against you, or B. The original action was a criminal act against you, and that this can only be righted by A. Stopping all deductions forthwith, and B. Paying you back everything they taken with interest, as per normal business practice. The boot is now on the other foot. If they don't stop immediately, then they are making themselves, i.e., the sender of the letters you have received, or the originator of the phone calls you have received, that have made you squirm, subject to a private criminal prosecution. Click for details. For misconduct in public office, click link. Maximum penalty equals life imprisonment. That might, just might, sort things out for you. What do you think? Would you like to be some small-time clerk in an office in Gateshead and be told you could be sent to prison for life if you carry on? Isn't it time to make them squirm? What happens if I do this and they claim the IOU? They can't. They can't ever do that because you've said that you'll pay them. Subsequent to the Bank of England having honored their promise on their banknotes, which the Bank of England can never do because money is only ever an illusion, has always been so, and will always be so. The Bank of England can never fulfill on the promise they make on every banknote. It's an illusion, and everyone who thinks that's money is living under a delusion. The Bank of England have only ever promised the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You don't believe me? Try it. Try going to the old lady of Threadneedle Street, offering them a £10 note, which bears the wording "I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £10, and is thus a promissory note. Saying I'm the bearer and wish to exchange this for your promise of the sum of £10. They'll fraud march you out, lock the doors, and call the police. Simply because a sum of £10 does not exist, never has, and never will. It's an illusion, and a piss take. In fact, the most ginormous piss take ever. People slave, from cradle to grave.